Leave nothing for some other time. Afterward, the espresso gets cold. Afterward, you lose interest. Afterward, the day transforms into night. Afterward, individuals grow up, become old, and life passes by. Also, you're left with lament, asking why you didn't take that risk when you had it. In the event that you don't leave your past previously, it will obliterate your future. Live for what today brings to the table, not what yesterday has removed. In this book recording, we're plunging into the extraordinary force of now. Envision a daily existence where you quit pausing, quit deferring, and begin completely embracing every day. This mentality isn't just about inspiration. About a shift will carry you nearer to your objectives, interests, and an existence without laments. Go along with us as we uncover how making a move today can fundamentally alter your tomorrow. Part 1. The expense of later. We frequently think later is innocuous, simply a little deferral, something we'll get to ultimately. Yet, later has a secret expense that accumulates over the long run. Each time we say later, we're putting our fantasies, objectives, and even connections on hold. It appears to be a protected method for delaying, yet as a general rule, later can turn into a propensity, one that takes our possible one small step at a time. This part investigates how later leisurely works on the things we esteem most and keeps us from living completely. Envision in the event that each time you put something off, you were taking a little withdrawal from your life's bank. Each postponement probably won't seem like a lot, yet after some time, those little withdrawals can leave you with an unfilled record of botched open doors, unachieved objectives, and lost recollections. Saying, "I'll do it later," isn't simply innocuous. It's an unpretentious, however strong approach to creating some distance from the existence you need. This section shows us how being aware of our decisions in the present can steer our future. The expense of later doesn't simply influence enormous dreams. It likewise influences day-to-day existence. Ponder the easily overlooked details, such as investing energy with friends and family, settling on that telephone decision, or in any event, pausing for a minute to unwind. Each time we say we'll do it later, we're putting off bliss and association, and at some point we could think back and understand those minutes won't ever come. This part is a reminder, an update that our lives are comprised of the things we do or don't do today, not sometime in the future. Finally, this section jumps into the profound effect of later. At the point when we continually put things off, it makes a pattern of responsibility, stress, and botched open doors. Each postpone leaves a waiting sensation of something left scattered, an irritating idea at the rear of our brains. When we at last demonstration, we might feel depleted and deterred, asking why we didn't do it sooner. Perceiving this cost can rouse us to begin making changes, to move from later to now, and construct an existence of activity and reason, each second in turn. Section 2. Breaking liberated from reasons are agreeable. They shield us from the anxiety toward disappointment, dismissal, and vulnerability. In any case, while reasons might have a good sense of reassurance, they behave like undetectable chains that keep us down. Each time we say, "I don't have time," "I'm not prepared," or "I'll begin tomorrow," we empower those chains. This section is tied in with seeing the truth about pardons, hindrances we make ourselves. At the point when we break liberated from pardons, we open the way to plausibility, fortitude, and accomplishment. Pardons frequently mask themselves as consistent reasons, and that makes them so subtle. "I'll begin when I have more cash," or "I'm hanging tight for the right second," sound sensible. In any case, these defenses keep us in a single spot, standing by endlessly. Breaking liberated from pardons implies testing these avocations and asking, what's truly halting me? Frequently, it's our own questions and fears. By seeing through these reasons, we gain the clearness to act, regardless of how flawed the timing or conditions might appear. Breaking liberated from pardons likewise implies embracing liability. At the point when we quit accusing conditions or others, we recover command over our lives. This part shows how taking responsibility for decisions, both the triumphs and misfortunes, engages us. It advises us that we are not casualties of our current circumstance, but rather dynamic members informing our future. By considering ourselves responsible, we find strength we didn't realize we had, and we become stronger even with difficulties. At last, this part investigates the opportunity that comes when we let go of reasons. Envision the psychological energy and time squandered supporting why we can't follow through with something. Presently, envision diverting that energy toward activity. Without pardons, we open up space to dream, face challenges, and develop. We discover that the initial step to progress isn't sitting tight for the ideal second. Beginning right now is choosing. Breaking liberated from pardons is tied in with sincerely committing to ourselves, and each time we completely finish, we break one more connection in the chain keeping us down. Part 3. Embracing the force of prompt activity. There's a one-of-a-kind power in making a move at the present time. Prompt activity is something other than accomplishing something rapidly. It's tied in with jumping all over the current opportunity and utilizing it to advance toward our objectives. Acting promptly additionally calms the internal voices of uncertainty. The more we pause, the additional time we give ourselves to stress, overthink, and at last work ourselves out of our arrangements. At the point when we embrace the force of prompt activity, we stand firm against these questions. We say, I might not have every one of the responses, but rather I'm willing to advance as I go. This approach isn't about flawlessness, it's about progress. By venturing forward now, we gain insight, fabricate versatility, and learn significant illustrations that arranging alone can't educate. Quick activity likewise sends a strong message to ourselves that we are committed and able. Each time we pick activity over faltering, we reinforce our self-conviction. It resembles making a guarantee to ourselves and keeping it. At the point when we begin seeing the consequences of our endeavors, regardless of how little our certainty develops, we start to comprehend that achievement doesn't need amazing luck. It requires steady, gallant strides in the present. This change in mentality makes a pattern of activity and confidence that makes us relentless. In this part, we'll investigate ways of regularly practicing prompt activity, in addition to a one-time occasion. Making a move rapidly doesn't mean being rash or crazy. It implies pushing ahead with reason, regardless of whether conditions aren't great. By embracing the force of now, we assume command over our lives and objectives. We figure out how to trust ourselves and the cycle, realizing that each activity carries us nearer to our true capacity. Embracing quick activity implies living completely with the comprehension that the ability to shape our future lies in our decisions today. Part 4. Relinquishing the past to fabricate a future. Our past is loaded with illustrations, encounters, and recollections, some of them certain, others excruciating. While it tends to be consoling or in any event, enticing to clutch what's natural, conveying the heaviness of the past can keep us down. Giving up doesn't mean neglecting or disregarding our set of experiences. It implies delivering its hold over us, so we can step completely into what's in store. This section is tied in with understanding how giving up can be a strong demonstration of self-freedom, liberating us to make a future that lines up with our most profound objectives and wants. Clutching the past frequently implies clutching old examples, convictions, or even laments that never again serve us. We could replay specific minutes, expecting an alternate result, or stick to past renditions of ourselves. However, by remaining joined to what's as of now occurred, we keep ourselves from encountering development. Our energy stalls out and it becomes more diligently to push ahead. Giving up implies deciding to abandon what's presently not valuable and accounting for new, positive open doors. One method for relinquishing the past is to zero in on the examples it educated as opposed to the feelings it raises. Each experience, positive or negative, conveys bits of knowledge that can direct us. Perhaps a misstep showed us flexibility, or a disappointment showed us where we expected to get to the next level. By zeroing in on what we realized, we shift our attitude from, "For what reason did this happen to me?" to "What could I at any point acquire from this?" This rethinking permits us to consider the past to be an educator, not a chain, and gives us the solidarity to step into the future with freshly discovered intelligence. Giving up additionally expects us to pardon, both ourselves as well as other people. Clutching hatred or coerce can weigh intensely on our spirits, making imperceptible hindrances that keep us down. By rehearsing pardoning, we let go of the pessimistic feelings that keep us fastened to previous occasions. This doesn't mean approving incorrectly activities. It implies delivering the close-to-home hold those activities have on us. Pardoning is an approach to saying, I decide to be liberated from the heaviness of this experience, and it permits us to move toward the future with a lighter heart. As we let go, we start to comprehend that we're not characterized by our past, yet by the decisions today. Our encounters shape us, yet they don't need to restrict us. By embracing the current second and zeroing in on our future, we rethink ourselves according to our very own preferences. Every day turns into a potential chance to assemble the existence we imagine, unbound by past limits. Giving up gives us the opportunity to develop and to seek after our fantasies with a re-established feeling of plausibility and fervor. In this section, you'll find viable strides for delivering the past, pardoning yourself as well as other people, and embracing a forward-centered outlook. Giving up is an excursion, yet with each step, you'll feel more engaged and fit for molding a future that reflects who you genuinely are. By unburdening yourself from the heaviness of what's behind you, you can zero in your energy on what lies ahead, building a life that is driven by reason, enthusiasm, and the force of probability. Section 5. Living with reason today. Living with reason implies selecting every day to adjust your activities, considerations, and objectives with the main thing to you. At the point when you awaken with a feeling of direction, your days are filled by course and importance, causing even the littlest activities to feel huge. Design isn't an objective, however an approach to everyday life, a goal you convey with you in every second, mixing your existence with energy and concentration. This section investigates how to develop a deliberate outlook, beginning today to make a satisfying life. One of the initial steps to living with design is understanding the main thing to you. Find opportunity to consider your basic beliefs, interests, and the things that cause you to feel generally invigorated. Is it helping other people, making something significant, or accomplishing self-awareness? By explaining what drives you, you establish the groundwork for a deliberate life. This clearness assists you with focusing on your significant investment, guaranteeing that your everyday activities add to your bigger vision. Living with reason additionally includes setting clear, deliberate objectives. Objectives that reverberate with your motivation are really propelling and remunerating on the grounds that they are lined up with your qualities. For instance, on the off chance that your motivation is to move others, an objective may be to make content or work in a job that permits you to share significant messages. These objectives give a guide, provide you a feeling of guidance, and causing each step you take to feel deliberate and effective. Intentional living requires care and presence. It's not difficult to become involved with schedules or be occupied by things that don't serve our objectives. By rehearsing care, you train yourself to remain present, appreciating every second and zeroing in on the main thing. Design isn't generally about doing excellent things. It's tied in with seeing as significance in the regular, whether it's through interfacing with others, dealing with your prosperity, or adding to your local area. Difficulties and misfortunes are inescapable. However, when you live with reason, they become piece of the excursion instead of hindrances. Reason gives you strength, reminding you why you began and assisting you with pushing through difficult stretches. At the point when you view difficulties as venturing stones instead of barricades, you're bound to gain from them and push ahead. Reason goes about as an anchor, assisting you with remaining grounded and zeroed in any event when the excursion gets extreme. Living with reason additionally implies being available to development and change. As you keep on seeking after what makes a difference, you'll probably find new interests or viewpoints that shift your way. Object isn't unbending. It advances as you do. Embrace this development, permitting your motivation to adjust over the long run. By remaining adaptable and open, you stay consistent with your bona fide self, seeking after a way that reflects who you are today and who you plan to turn into. Deliberate living is profoundly satisfying in light of the fact that it interfaces your activities to a bigger importance. Instead of essentially making a half-hearted effort, you're effectively shaping a day-to-day existence that lines up with your qualities. This feeling of satisfaction gives an extraordinary sort of pleasure and fulfillment that material achievement alone can't give. Living with reason makes a well-established joy that supports you through both the ups and downs of life. In this section, you'll investigate significant stages for finding, sustaining, and typifying your motivation every day. Living with object is your decision each day, a guarantee to imbue your existence with significance, energy, and bearing. At the point when you decide to live intentionally, you're not simply fabricating a satisfying life, you're making an inheritance, influencing others, and leaving the world somewhat better than you tracked down it. Part 6: Structure, consistency, and force. Consistency is the scaffold between putting forth objectives and accomplishing them. It's actually not necessary to focus on taking immense jumps, however, taking consistent, customary strides toward your fantasies. Building consistency implies resolving to activities, enormous or little, that line up with your objectives each and every day. At the point when you keep a cadence, even with little activities, you gather speed, which at last causes arriving at your objectives to feel regular and feasible. This part centers around how to lay out consistency and saddle force to continue to push ahead. The most vital phase in building consistency is understanding that little, steady activities are more powerful than periodic, extraordinary endeavors. It's not difficult to fall into the snare of reasoning that large achievements require fantastic signals. However, evident advancement frequently comes from little advances rehashed over the long haul. Steady activities add up, making enduring change. For example, perusing a couple of pages every day may not seem like a lot, yet over the long run it can prompt significant self-improvement. Routine is an integral asset for consistency. By making an organized everyday practice, you eliminate the need to continually settle on conclusions about when to deal with your objectives. At the point when an errand turns out to be essential for your day-to-day everyday practice, it's simpler to stay with it, even on days when inspiration is low. A basic routine assists you with building propensities that help your objectives, transforming activities into natural. The more programmed your activities become, the almost certain you are to continue onward. Responsibility can likewise assume a critical part in keeping up with consistency. Whether it's a companion, coach, or gathering, having somebody to impart your advancement to makes a feeling of obligation. At the point when others know about your objectives, you're bound to see everything through to completion. Responsibility accomplices offer help and support, and they can assist you with keeping focused when you're enticed to wander. A common responsibility fabricates a layer of responsibility that makes consistency more straightforward. Setting sensible, feasible objectives is urgent for keeping up with consistency. At the point when your objectives are excessively aggressive, it's not difficult to feel overpowered and deterred. Break your bigger objectives into more modest, sensible advances, every one structure on the last. This approach keeps you roused, as you're ready to celebrate little wins en route. These small-scale achievements give encouraging feedback, making it simpler to remain steady as you pursue your bigger vision. Force assembles when you start to see improvement from your steady endeavors. Progress doesn't generally come right away, yet after some time your activities compound, and the outcomes become more noticeable. This sensation of positive progress makes a feeling of inspiration, making it simpler to keep investing the energy. When energy fabricates, remaining steady feels less like a task and more like a characteristic, pleasant interaction. At the point when mishaps occur, don't allow them to crash your advancement. Consistency doesn't mean flawlessness. Life will toss curves, and there will be days when you miss a stage or need to stop. What is important is that you refocus at the earliest opportunity. Treat mishaps as impermanent and stay away from the win big or bust outlook. At the point when you embrace the possibility that consistency is about combined exertion as opposed to impeccable execution, you'll be stronger and ready to continue onward. Building consistency likewise requires serious areas of strength for A. Realizing the reason why you're seeking after an objective provides you a feeling of motivation, which powers responsibility. At the point when you want to surrender, reconnect with the purposes for your objectives. Help yourself to remember what you're pursuing and the way that it will work on your life. This feeling of direction reinforces your purpose, assisting you with remaining predictable in any event when inspiration plunges. Keeping tabs on your development can be a strong inspiration. Whether you utilize a diary, application, or schedule, tracking your endeavors assists you with perceiving how far you've come. Reporting your advancement gives a visual sign of your devotion, supporting your responsibility. Over the long haul, you'll have an unmistakable record of your excursion, which can move you to remain steady and gather much more speed. At last, commend your consistency and progress. Perceive the difficult work you're placing in and honor every achievement. Festivities don't need to be fabulous. A little prize or snapshot of affirmation can build up your endeavors. At the point when you praise your successes, you build up the propensity for consistency, making it more straightforward to keep up with over the long haul. Consistency becomes something you anticipate instead of something you believe you need to do. In this section, you'll find that gathering consistency and speed is a workmanship, one that requires persistence, discipline, and self-empathy. As you practice these abilities, you'll find that consistency feels less like a battle and more like a cadence that streams normally through your life. Force will develop as you finish what has been started, engaging you to accomplish your objectives with certainty and ingenuity. Section 7, Becoming amazing at expressing yes to now. Expressing yes to the current second is perhaps of the most extraordinary decision we can make. Frequently, we're so centered around either the second thoughts of the past or the concerns representing things to come that we disregard the force of now. Becoming the best at embracing the present permits us to encounter life in its fullest structure and take prompt, deliberate activity. This section dives into how we can figure out how to express yes to the present, quickly jump all over chances, and develop a mentality that focuses on activity and presence. The most vital phase in dominating this workmanship is grasping the worth of time. Every second is novel and temporary. When it passes, we can never recover it. At the point when we express yes to now, we recognize the indispensable idea of time and focus on utilizing it astutely. Rather than sitting tight briefly or ideal circumstances, we acknowledge that currently is the best second to make a move. Embracing this and have a constructive outcome. At the point when we approach every morning with an open heart and a readiness to express yes to anything, open doors emerge. We imbue our lives with energy and excitement. This uplifting perspective engages us to quickly take advantage of chances and capitalize on every day. At last, becoming the best at expressing yes to now is tied in with carrying on with an existence of direction and presence. It's a guarantee to showing up completely, making a significant move and treasuring every second. At the point when we express yes to now, we quit trusting that life will occur and begin effectively making it. The excursion of embracing the present changes us, carrying us nearer to our actual selves and permitting us to live with more noteworthy satisfaction, reason and satisfaction. Section 8, The force of a sans future outlook. Embracing a sans future mentality can appear to be outlandish in a world that prizes arranging, desire, and groundbreaking. Be that as it may, the craft of delivering our obsession with what's to come offers significant advantages. It doesn't mean dismissing objectives or goals, yet rather moving toward existence without the heaviness of consistent expectation and stress. Living with a sans future mentality engages us to act definitively in the present and permits us to encounter existence with lucidity, opportunity, and bliss. One of the principal advantages of a sans future mentality is decreased nervousness. What's to come is capricious, and when we're continually centered around it, we can become overpowered by consider the possibility that situations and likely results. This stress can cloud our capacity to partake in the present. At the point when we let go of fixating on what lies ahead, we make mental breathing room and spotlight on what's straightforwardly inside our span. In a sans future mentality, we can contemplate the future without connecting our tranquility to it, in this way lessening pressure. A sans future mentality likewise supports further familiarity with the current second. At the point when we're not engrossed with what's straight away, we can completely participate in what's going on at this point. This uplifted presence permits us to associate with our environmental elements, contemplations, and feelings such that isn't polluted by expectation or dread. We become more receptive to our lives as they unfurl, seeing the little subtleties and minutes that frequently pass inconspicuous when we're up to speed from now on. Developing a without future mentality likewise assists us with improving more grounded choices. Frequently, choices made with regards to an exceptionally expected future are driven by dread or presumptions. At the point when we discharge our emphasis on the future, we can evaluate circumstances in view of their ongoing reality, prompting decisions that truly mirror our qualities and requirements. This approach permits us to act with honesty and credibility, adjusting our activities to who we are in the present as opposed to who we assume we should be from here on out. A strong part of a sans future outlook is the feeling of opportunity it brings. At the point when we quit pursuing an admired form representing things to come, we free ourselves from deliberate assumptions. Done feeling a sense of urgency to arrive at a particular result, we permit ourselves to encounter life's excursion without the strain of satisfying unbending objectives. This opportunity develops a receptiveness to whatever unfurls, permitting us to adjust and flourish, paying little mind to what's on the horizon. A without future outlook likewise improves our connections. At the point when we're not focused on future assumptions, we can draw in with individuals around us in a more veritable manner. We're making an effort not to form discussions or encounters to fit a specific story. All things considered, we meet individuals as they are at this very moment. This presence cultivates further associations and more genuine communications as we're ready to listen completely and answer insightfully instead of being distracted with what's straight away. This outlook likewise energizes versatility. By relinquishing a glorified future, we become more versatile to anything that life brings our direction. We're not generally lost course by unforeseen changes or mishaps since we're not unbendingly attached to one explicit result. All things considered, we can move toward difficulties with interest and adaptability, seeing them as a component of the excursion as opposed to as dangers to our arrangements. This versatility fabricates strength as we become more open to exploring life's promising and less promising times without nervousness over what's to come. Embracing a without future outlook cultivates inventiveness and immediacy. At the point when we're not troubled by the need to squeeze our lives into a particular future shape, we're allowed to investigate thoughts and attempt new things unafraid of coming up short at foreordained objectives. This artistic liberty can prompt startling revelations and open doors that we could have missed on the off chance that we were excessively centered around a particular vision for what's to come. Living in the now welcomes motivation and trial and error, starting development in regions we might not have expected. Relinquishing a future-centered mentality likewise advances self-sympathy. At the point when we're excessively worried about accomplishing explicit results, we can become cruel on ourselves for any apparent disappointments or deviations from the arrangement. A without future mentality urges us to be kinder to ourselves, recognizing that development and learning are processes that unfurl normally after some time. With this methodology, we can pardon ourselves for difficulties and celebrate progress without the tension of meeting unreasonable future objectives. A without future mentality doesn't mean we leave our goals. All things being equal, it welcomes us to move toward them without joining our value or satisfaction to their result. By zeroing in on the cycle as opposed to the objective, we're ready to seek after our objectives with a feeling of interest and transparency. This approach permits us to partake in the excursion and find satisfaction in the means we take today, as opposed to postponing joy for a future achievement. Living without a future obsession likewise increases our appreciation for life's straightforward delights. Without the consistent desire to get someplace or accomplish something, we're ready to find satisfaction in the little minutes that make life significant. Whether it's relishing a feast, getting a charge out of time with friends and family, or just noticing the magnificence around us, a sans future mentality frees us up to the wealth of the present. This appreciation brings a feeling of harmony and appreciation that rises above any single achievement or achievement. In embracing a without future outlook, we enable ourselves to investigate our true capacity in the present completely. Frequently, our obsession with what's in store restricts us from acting strikingly now as we're up to speed in arranging or hanging tight for the right second. At the point when we discharge this obsession, we allow ourselves to act presently, carrying our fullest selves to every second right away. This approach prompts more useful results, yet in addition energizes self-improvement as we're continually moving forward. Eventually, taking on a sans future mentality is tied in with recovering the present as our essential wellspring of force and harmony. By delivering the tension of what's to come, we track down the opportunity to connect profoundly with every second. This shift doesn't mean we quit thinking often about the future, but instead that we honor the present as the establishment whereupon our future is constructed. In deciding to live completely today, we make a daily existence that is both significant and satisfying, not as a result of what might happen tomorrow, but since of the extravagance we embrace today. Part 9, Developing Appreciation for Now. Appreciation is a strong practice that establishes us in the present, and brings harmony, satisfaction, and happiness into our lives. At the point when we develop appreciation for now, we shift our concentration from what we need to what we have, from yearning for the future to valuing the present. This section investigates how embracing appreciation can change the manner in which we see our lives, assisting us with living with a more profound feeling of satisfaction, reason, and bliss. One of the least complex yet most significant impacts of appreciation is that it upgrades our attention to life's gifts. It's not difficult to underestimate things, particularly when we're centered around what's straight away. In any case, appreciation urges us to dial back and really recognize individuals, encounters, and minutes that give us pleasure and solace. This uplifted mindfulness assists us with seeing that even on testing days, there's a lot to be grateful for, from the glow of a dawn to the giggling of a companion. Appreciation likewise reshapes our point of view on issues. Life is loaded up with difficulties. However, when we approach these impediments with appreciation, they lose their ability to overpower us. Rather than zeroing in exclusively on what's troublesome, we can see the value in the strength, versatility, and development that difficulties bring. This doesn't mean overlooking difficulties, but instead deciding to see them from a perspective that perceives both the battle and the illustrations they give. Rehearsing appreciation can likewise work on our connections. At the point when we consistently recognize and communicate appreciation for individuals in our lives, we reinforce our securities with them. Appreciation cultivates sensations of warmth, sympathy, and association, making it simpler to determine clashes and extend shared understanding. At the point when others feel appreciated, they are bound to feel esteemed, making a good pattern of generosity and regard that improves our connections. As well as helping our connections, appreciation improves our own prosperity. Research shows that rehearsing appreciation can help mindset, further develop rest, and even decrease pressure. At the point when we center around what we're appreciative for, our brains and bodies answer decidedly. Appreciation sets us free from the pattern of stress and nervousness, permitting us to unwind and discover a sense of reconciliation in the present. This psychological and close-to-home equilibrium improves our versatility, assisting us with exploring life's highs and lows effortlessly. A strong part of appreciation is that it moves our concentration from shortage to overflow. At the point when we're continually seeing what's absent in our lives, we make a feeling of need and deficiency. Notwithstanding, when we practice appreciation, we perceive the overflow that as of now exists. This shift changes our inner discourse from "I really want more" to "I have enough," encouraging a feeling of satisfaction. By valuing what we have, we become less determined by outside wants and more grounded in internal satisfaction. Appreciation likewise assists us with tracking down happiness in straightforward delights. In our speedy world, disregarding the little snapshots of magnificence and miracle around us is simple. At the point when we develop appreciation, we begin to track down significance and bliss in ordinary encounters. A warm mug of espresso, a stroll in nature, a genuine discussion. These little minutes become wellsprings of euphoria that give us a much-needed boost and bring a feeling of wizardry into our regular routines. An appreciation practice likewise fortifies our strength in troublesome times. At the point when we're confronted with misfortune, disappointment, or disillusionment, finding silver linings can be hard. However, appreciation permits us to hold space for both agony and appreciation. In extreme minutes, we can in any case observe things to be appreciative for, strong companions, significant illustrations, or even our own boldness to continue onward. This strength assists us with returning, advising us that life's difficulties don't eradicate the integrity that actually exists. Living with appreciation advances our association with the current second. At the point when we're appreciative, we're completely participated in the now, not diverted by future concerns or remorseful thoughts. This presence permits us to encounter life all the more profoundly, relishing each experience with an open heart. Appreciation transforms common minutes into esteemed recollections, filling our lives with a feeling of miracle and appreciation that causes every day to feel like a gift. Integrating appreciation into our day-to-day schedule is a basic yet significant method for developing energy. Recording 3 things we're thankful for every day, for instance, can remind us to zero in on the positive parts of our lives. These reflections act as anchors that ground us, keeping us associated with our qualities and objectives. Over the long haul, this training fortifies our capacity to find appreciation even in the most commonplace minutes. Appreciation likewise makes the way for liberality. At the point when we value what we have, we're more disposed to impart it to other people. This liberality doesn't necessarily, in all cases, must be material. It very well may be pretty much as straightforward as offering our time, thoughtfulness, or consideration regarding everyone around us. Appreciation instructs us that life is more extravagant when shared, and giving turns into a characteristic articulation of our appreciation. This liberality cultivates a feeling of local area, making associations that further improve our lives. The demonstration of offering thanks verbally can significantly affect others and on ourselves. Saying thank you or communicating appreciation to somebody causes them to feel esteemed, yet additionally supports our own feeling of appreciation. These little articulations of thanks make positive connections that elevate the two players, reinforcing connections and developing a culture of appreciation. Appreciation can likewise act as a strong counteractant to examination. In this present reality where we're frequently enticed to quantify our resides against others, appreciation reminds us to zero in on our own favors. Rather than feeling desirous of what others have, we figure out how to commend our remarkable excursion and achievements. This attitude lessens insecurities and weakness, permitting us to partake in our lives without the consistent need to contend or look at. One more advantage of appreciation is its capacity to develop our self-acknowledgement. At the point when we're thankful for our assets, encounters, and, surprisingly, our blemishes, we encourage an identity sympathy. Appreciation assists us with valuing our excursion, perceiving that each piece of ourselves, both the great and the difficult, has added to our development. This acknowledgement permits us to live more really, liberated from the strain to adjust to others' assumptions. At last, appreciation upgrades our general life fulfillment. At the point when we reliably center around the positive parts of our lives, we establish an internal climate of bliss and harmony. This fulfillment isn't subject to material abundance, status, or outer accomplishments. All things being equal, it's established in a profound appreciation for the existence we have. Living with appreciation engages us to embrace every day with a feeling of satisfaction, causing even the easiest minutes to feel significant and beneficial. Developing appreciation for now is tied in with deciding to see the excellence, happiness, and favors in every second. It advises us that satisfaction isn't something we pursue, yet something we make through appreciation. By rehearsing appreciation, we enhance our own lives, yet in addition spread energy to everyone around us. As we embrace every day with a thankful heart, we open ourselves to a day-to-day existence loaded up with reason, association, and genuine happiness. Section 10. Rethinking accomplishment as living in the current achievement is many times characterized by the achievements we accomplish, the objectives we reach, or the fantasies we satisfy. However, imagine a scenario in which genuine progress lies in something less difficult, yet endlessly more impressive, living completely right now. Reclassifying accomplishment as living in the present permits us to gauge life not by the results we arrive at from now on, however by the nature of the encounters we have at this moment. This part digs into how moving comprehension we might interpret accomplishment from a future-situated pursuit to a present-focused approach to everyday life can change our feeling of direction, satisfaction, and euphoria. The conventional perspective on progress will in general be forward-engaged, driven by unambiguous accomplishments, monetary profit, or economic well-being. While these objectives can be rousing, they can likewise make an outlook that ceaselessly looks forward, frequently to the detriment of valuing the present time and place. Reclassifying accomplishment as living in the current means relinquishing the ill-be-cheerful when attitude and embracing every second for what it offers, perceiving that genuine fulfillment is tracked down in our day-to-day encounters and cooperations. At the point when we view accomplishment as embracing current circumstances, we understand that life isn't a progression of accomplishments to confirm, yet an excursion of encounters to enjoy. Each discussion, every little triumph, and even snapshots of quietness add to our feeling of satisfaction. Achievement turns out to be less about having increasingly more about tracking down happiness and importance in each piece of the excursion. This shift assists us with zeroing in on development, appreciation, and inward harmony, which make a more supportable feeling of fulfillment. Living in the present permits us to encounter existence with more prominent profundity and wealth. At the point when we're not continually focused on the future, we're free to participate in what's going on now completely. We start to see the magnificence of a nightfall, the giggling of companions, and the delight of straightforward minutes that could somehow be neglected. By rethinking progress along these lines, we free ourselves up to a more full, more lively life where each second turns into a valuable chance for association, development, and satisfaction. Embracing the present likewise lessens the pressure and tension that can emerge out of a future-centered mentality. At the point when we're continuously pursuing the following objective or accomplishment, there's a steady strain to perform, succeed, and excel. This tension can prompt burnout, stress, and insecurities. Embracing the here and now, then again, urges us to relinquish these tensions and confidence in the excursion. We figure out how to see the value in each step without the consistent need to look further ahead, which brings a feeling of quiet and equilibrium to our lives. Rethinking accomplishment as living in the present likewise reinforces our connections. At the point when we're completely participated in the present time and place, we're ready to listen all the more profoundly, interface all the more legitimately, and value others in a significant way. We're not generally diverted by stresses over the future or second thoughts from an earlier time, permitting us to be genuinely present with individuals around us. This presence encourages trust, empathy, and understanding, improving our connections, and making bonds based on certifiable association. One more impressive impact of living in the present is the opportunity it brings from self-judgment. Frequently, our future-centered desires are joined by elevated requirements and cruel self-analysis. At the point when we judge ourselves in view of what we have or haven't accomplished, we make a mentality of need and deficiency. By embracing the current second, we discharge ourselves from these decisions and acknowledge ourselves as we are. We start to see that achievement isn't tied in with becoming something else, yet about completely embracing who we are thinking correctly now. Rethinking accomplishment as a present-focused venture likewise urges us to seek after our interests and interests with bliss as opposed to commitment. At the point when we're not focused on future results, we're allowed to investigate, analyze, and partake during the time spent learning. Achievement turns out to be less about arriving at a particular objective and more about the satisfaction we track down in following our interest and finding new parts of ourselves. This approach brings a feeling of liveliness and marvel to our lives, making our everyday interests more pleasant and significant. Living in the present likewise adjusts us all the more intimately with our qualities. At the point when we're not exclusively determined by outer markers of progress, we have the space to ponder the main thing to us. We can zero in on characteristics like generosity, respectability, and genuineness as opposed to shallow accomplishments. Achievement turns into an impression of how we experience every day, the effect we have on others, and the positive energy we bring to the world. This values-driven approach makes a more profound, more deliberate feeling of satisfaction. A present-focused perspective on progress likewise encourages flexibility. Life is loaded up with highs and lows, and when we're exclusively centered around arriving at future objectives, mishaps can feel destroying. By embracing the present, we figure out how to consider difficulties to be essential for the excursion, not as impediments that crash us from a future objective. This flexibility permits us to confront hardships with effortlessness, versatility, and a willingness